I think 2001: A Space Odyssey is a great movie.
Well, I don't. Before we get started, I want to explain a little bit about this new series first. In this series I'm calling Devil's Advocate, I'm going to be disagreeing with whoever I'm talking with on the topic no matter what it is. Regardless of whether or not I agree with them, I'm going to be taking the opposite opinion. We'll then debate both sides and see what makes most sense. Let's get started!
When I first saw 2001: Space Odyssey, I actually didn't like it, and I was like, this is not fun, this is not exciting, this is boring. Eventually I got to see it on DVD, and I came to love it, because after seeing it multiple times, I just like the way that it's slow paced. I don't find it boring anymore. The way he frames a lot of the shots is really beautiful, even though it can, for some people, just get really irritating that there's not a lot of dialogue and nothing seems to be happening. I actually enjoy a lot of the sequences that just have like minimal sound effects and just the visuals telling the story. Another thing about it is just how influential it was in science fiction. Before this movie, there was nothing like it. The plots were pretty silly, not grown up or adult in any way. Flying saucers and really poor quality. This kind of just pushed science fiction like a huge leap forward. Both in its storytelling and the top-notch visuals, which still hold up today, and yeah, just some of the themes that it deals with as well.
I do enjoy a lot of things about 2001. One of the things being the pacing of the middle section. I think once we get going in the plot, after they find the giant iPhone, then the plot gets going, and it's entertaining. I enjoyed that plot. My issues are more with the beginning and the end. First off, I don't mind slow movies. I love slow movies. Some of my favorite movies are slow and build. It's a suspense-driven idea, so it builds slowly, and that can actually make it really good. There's a lot of great movies like that. In this movie, there's a lot of great suspenseful moments in it, as well as prolonged suspense throughout. Minimal sound effects, I love that. I do, with him, and all you can hear is his breathing. That's great. My issue, starting with the beginning of the movie, is you've got like 10 minutes of just blank screen. And I know a lot of people defend it. They say it's an artistic decision. They say it's making a point. And yes, it's artistic. Yes, it's making a point. I get it. The point of the shots is to go, here's nothing. But it goes on for minutes too long. And it's like, it feels like it's trying to be something special when it doesn't have to be. It could have just been a straightforward story. It still could have been intelligent. It still could have been insightful. It still could have been a commentary on humanity by going through the evolution phase of here's the problem with evolving. You become more violent with every evolutionary step. But you don't have to hold yourself with such arrogance as I feel like Kubrick did in the making of this movie. I feel like almost like Kubrick is looking at his audience like, I'm more intelligent than you, so I'm gonna give you a visual masterpiece that you'll have to debate amongst each other to look as intelligent as me. That's what it comes across as. It doesn't actually feel intelligent, it feels like faux intelligence.
I would say that even with the long shots that seem to be, you said going on too long, I know he's drawing importance to the themes that he's talking about. I don't know if it's him trying to be too self-important, but rather trying to get the audience into a position where they're like listening and paying attention to it. And I know, when it's a long shot that just seems like it's holding too long, you're just like, can you just move on with it? But I think he's just allowing you time to ponder the themes he's bringing up with, as you're saying, like humans using weapons and not going beyond that, just continuing to build more elaborate weapons.
But I feel like that kind of ties into what I said of he has an air of arrogance about it, like he needs to cater to the audience, like he has to be like, hold up, pay attention class, here it is. He can't just say it, he can't just come forward and say it in a more natural way. He feels like what he's saying is so important that he has to wait for the entire classroom to be quiet. He can't just say it. It's a great statement. It's still a profound statement, but it's one that's been made before. It's not anything new. It's not anything that hasn't been done. I mean, as far as the movie making itself, yes, there's a lot of filmmaking in this movie that was groundbreaking. I think Stanley Kubrick is a great cinematographer. Don't think he's a good director.
One thing I wanted to point out about the music is that his use of it in the movie has become iconic. Like his use of the Blue Danube nowadays, it's more associated with space, like outer space, and things of that nature than rivers on this earth the way it was intended. In a way, he did make not just iconic images, but like iconic visual pairings with the music too. That's one of the reasons why I enjoy it as well, is how he pairs the music with the visuals. I don't know, and in some ways it's hypnotic, and I just enjoy that. You know, just staring and listening to it, and just kind of like vegging out. I can see why some people would check out at that point, though.
I think it's a great song. I don't think it's worth playing 10 times in a row, though. I feel like there's more music you could choose from. Or just make your own soundtrack, for that matter.
That's the thing, is he didn't want to use the music that the guy was composing. He wanted to use the classical music that he was editing the music to. So the composer's music didn't even get used in the movie. It just got scrapped.
Well, maybe he should have included it, so it would have been so repetitive.
You want to talk about the ending?
Alright, let's do it.
I admit to you, the first time I saw the ending, I was like, this is going on for way too long. I still think towards the end he could have shortened the whole Stargate sequence a little bit. I do enjoy the beginning of that because it's just so psychedelic and out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoy the beginning part, but towards the end when he's like getting closer to the alien planet, I'm like, you just hurry this up a little bit. There's a lot of different interpretations of the ending when he ends up in that hotel. He turns into a star baby and returns to Earth. That was him and the science fiction author's way of like visualizing like the next step in evolution. He grew old and died and then was reborn again as like a different being.
In the book, they explained the ending. They kind of gave context to what it was, and they gave a narrator's explanation, which is something that we didn't really have the advantage of in the movie, so I understand you can't really have that. But still, I feel like you could have put more explanation into that. It's like the opposite of the beginning. It's front heavy, and then the back is just like, here's a crazy image, make of it what you will. The book gave an explanation. So people are just going to the book to get the explanation anyway. So why not portray an explanation? Why not give one? It's just here you get put in a little room until you die, and then you become a baby again in a little egg and fly back home. And it's kind of like, it's abstract, it's weird. I do understand the meaning of it. It's still about evolution. But I think that not completely explaining it really doesn't help. The whole movie's been about evolution leads to just more violence. The more evolved you are, the more intelligent you are, the more violence you can inflict. So then you would think, now that he is even more evolved, now he's just going to kill the entire planet. But then at the same time, you're hoping that he's evolved past violence. But there's no context, so you have no idea what's happening next.
One explanation for that is that, so like the ape men, the humans are relying on their tools, and more often than not, they use tools as a weapon. And so eventually when they get on their mission to Jupiter, they're almost fully reliant on Hal, who is another tool that man has created. And then the tool eventually, turns on them and becomes dangerous to them. It kills all but Dave off. And so eventually Hal conquers Hal. It's kind of symbolic that humanity chooses to not be reliant on their tools anymore. And so Dave is the one who enters the Stargate and goes through the first human to go through this process of the next step. I think with that in mind, there's the hope that he's not going to return to Earth and destroy it, but he's moved beyond where humanity has been stuck at since they were ape men.
This point, however, leads us back around in a full circle too. This is something that's been said forever. It's always been the mantra of every wise man throughout history that humanity needs to evolve past itself and be about peace rather than violence. So this isn't really anything that hasn't been said before.
So there were several things that Kubrick was trying to accomplish with this film. One, he was trying to use the science fiction genre to deal with these themes that have been around forever, like man's violence and overcoming that, moving beyond that, which had never really been dealt with to this degree in a science fiction movie before. He was trying to just kind of like push the boundaries of film. It's not perfect, but I think he accomplished a lot with this movie in moving it forward.
So it sounds like you're just making excuses up for bad storytelling.
What I'm saying is that like he may not have perfectly succeeded in, conveying these themes, these serious themes, with just purely visual, but I thought he did like a really good job of what he could get. He didn't quite get there. He's still successful in a lot of ways in telling the story visually rather than with a narrator or text or expositional dialogue.
Well, agree to disagree. I'm Simon from Simon's Rants.
And I'm Paul.
Thanks for watching.